Okay, so hello, I'm Chanara99 and Chanara is on Twitch. During today's Top Hats and Champagne stream, we had a small discussion regarding the validity or no of a graphic. For some people, for lots of people, this is going to be a non-issue, but I think it's more important that we address this issue than you'd think. You see, most people assume that a graphic just showing data points right is correct, and I am going to debunk this idea. A graphic can have proper data points and still be very misleading. Not just a little misleading, but very misleading. You see, when we use a graphic, we are not only showing the data points, we are also showing tendencies or comparisons with other variables or other years or whatever you want. Yeah, the graphic is a good compromise between being as exhaustive as you will need to be with a table and being fast conveying that information. That is the purpose of a graphic. It shows information quite fast. So yeah, Top Hats and Champagne was using appropriately a graphic here since he only wanted to convey some information quite fast. And in fact, the way he used it was proper, was right. There was nothing wrong with that. However, the graphic was still misleading, not because of the data points, but because of this. White cropping. White cropping is what we do when we don't show the entirety of the y-axis or the vertical axis. As you can see in this example, these amounts of days of freezing temperatures are the same. 82 in 2007 and 84 in 2008. And if we use the graphic on the left, it's quite obvious that there is a big difference, but if we use the graphic on the right, it's obvious there is almost no difference. What should you use? Well, the one on the right is the most proper one because it's not trying to influence the viewer. So, white cropping happens when, as you see, we are not showing the entirety of the y-axis. In the graphic that Top Hats used, the y-axis was cropped. It didn't start at 0, it started at 6, which meant that the increases in every section were actually lower than they appeared to be. Now another problem with that graphic is that if you see on the x-axis, the horizontal one, it's showing a series of months, not every month, but just a series of months. And you will say, hey, you don't need to show every month, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to show every month. But if you are using equidistant points in the graphic, the viewers are going to assume that 2 points at the same distance in the x-axis are 2 points equally separated in time. So for instance, on the first segment we have November 12th to December 13th. That's 13 months. But on the 6th segment to the 7th segment we have March to May. That's 2 months. These 2 months in the graphic occupy the same space that these 13 months. How is that giving you a proper idea of what is going on in reality? So yeah, anyway, we have segment with 30 months, segment with 6 months, segment with 2 months. It's crazy. You just cannot pay attention to this graphic. Just so you can see, these are a mock graphic. It's not done properly. It's not labeled, which is a crime, not labeling a graphic. Yeah, just so you get the idea, these are the same data points, but instead of taking random points in time, we are taking equidistant point in time. As you can see, the graphic is completely different, despite having the same maximum value and the same minimum value, and being generally the same. So yeah, Falko used the graphic to show maximum value and minimum values, and that's fine. That graphic works for that, because he was using the graphic as a table. But people are going to see that graphic and see different stuff. And this is not Top Hats and Champagne fault. He was using statistics from some idiots, actually some idiots called Statista, right? Which is a firm, is one of the leading statistics companies on the internet. Alright, so you say, with a team of over 250 statisticians, database experts, analysts, and editors, Statista provides users with an innovative and intuitive tool for research quantitative data. Alright, yeah, this is actually quite intuitive, yeah. But certainly also innovative. You are making up your statistics. This is not the work of an expert. People doesn't have to be master statisticians. Of course they don't. But people are going to see a graphic and they are going to interpret the graphic whether they like it or not. Because that's how our eyes, our brain works. We see something, we interpret something. We see a very step line, we think, hey, that's a lot of increase. That's not what happens in this graphic. It's very misleading. And that's all I'm saying. The data point is indeed perfectly fine. But you can have misleading graphics with perfectly fine data points. That's not the issue. Check, for instance, this Planned Parenthood Federation of America data that is showing that cancer screening and prevention services has gone down while abortions has gone up. Alright, but if you see the graphic, just first so, without even stopping to look, you will say that cancer screening and prevention services has gone down about as much as abortion has gone up, which is false. There's been a small increase in abortion and a huge decrease in cancer screening and prevention services. So yeah, this is misleading. That's what happens when you don't use proper axes. I think this graphic speaks for itself. The scales indeed does not start at 0 and makes the house price in 2006 look about 7 times as higher than 1975, which is not 7 times, it's only 2.5 times. But if you saw this, you will say, hey, that's about 7 times as large. Yeah, that's the power of misleading statistics. As I say, the problem with misleading statistics is that they are used to manipulate people, whether they know it or not. You can check in this graph used by Fox News that they were actually trying to manipulate people into thinking that, I don't know, Barack Obama didn't want to get drilling permits, so he made the graphic misleading, and you can see that 4,000 looks about 1 quarter than 6,700, or which is false, is patently false. This is the idea. You get a wrong idea by looking at misleading graphics. And yeah, that is a problem that our society has nowadays, and that is a problem that no one is fucking paying attention to it. And I would like if more people paid any attention to this issue, because seriously, as much as we want to talk about social justice and blowing things out of proportion. Well, I'm not blowing this out of proportion. Everywhere in the news, everywhere in the alternative media, everywhere in internet, there are misleading statistics. There are graphics that are going to be showing improper data with the express intention of manipulating you. Falko inadvertently did this without knowing, without noticing, without being his intention. And that is why someone should take care of this and should pay attention on this epidemic of misleading graphics. They are everywhere and people should start paying attention to this sort of thing, because otherwise we'll get complacent. We'll just look at a graphic and go with our gut. Hey, that line is, the inclination of that line is quite high. That means there was a huge increase, and I don't care that the data point is right. Yes, the data point may be right, but a graphic is more than a data point. If you want a data point, you just use tables. Thank you for hearing me ramble. I'm General99, and sorry for triggering you, Falko. That was all I wanted to say.